Ladies and gentlemen, rugby fans from all around the world, welcome to the final episode of the Classics, episode 6. This is a huge one. This is the match we've been waiting to see, and I am really glad to be joined by my partner in crime, the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐂𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 of sports, Scott Lidbury. Thanks for joining us, mate.
El, great to be here. It's a great Saturday afternoon for some rugby. But before we get to this week's big game as we finish off our first season of the Classics, how about this game we watched last week? We're seeing some of the footage from it now.
It was awesome. It was a great game, and I would have put this in black and white, except yellow and white look out exactly the same when you do that. So it doesn't feel like we're going back in time, but we are going back to Lamport Stadium, which is important to the follow-up to this game, which is us at home. It feels good to be home. The weather's beautiful today. If you're out there today, if you're joining us right now, I love you. I love everything about you. I know how beautiful the weather is right now. I'm in a basement studio, you may have noticed. There's no bedroom behind me. This is not a green screen.
New setup.
Concrete. Yep, we're in the basement. The studio has moved. It's where the magic happens. And thank you to my wife and daughter for being so supporting every Saturday. Scott, I think I'm going to miss this. I don't want to tear up too much right now.
Look, El, it is a bit sad, but, you know, there'll be plenty more of Arrows games to come in the future. And what a way to finish off today. The last game of the 2019 season. Win and you're in. That was the motto. Rugby New York, or Runny, or Rooney, or the Roosters, or whatever they're known as, against the Arrows on our home turf. And we both knew that whoever won was in the playoffs, in the top 4. So let's relive this game. I can't wait. It was a beautiful day, and what a tense, tight match it was too.
Absolutely. I remember this one fondly. The weather had turned it on. The crowd was in there. It was just the perfect match. We're going to get straight into that in a second. As you notice, all our fans have been watching and supporting the show. We've been doing our best to support Rugby Ontario. This is grassroots rugby. This is where it all starts. And we've had some really great guests on the show, from Al Sharon. We've had Bill Webb. And right now, we got Ghislaine Landry. And sorry, Ghislaine, if I'm messing up your name, but if you've been following the show, I've been messing up basically every name along the way. Giuseppe Detroit, I'm sorry. Detroit, I've learnt. My bad. That's the Australian school system for you right there, ladies and gentlemen. Ghislaine, she was, you might have remembered, she was the favourite player of Chloe Daniels, who's the under-17s rising star, and this is her favourite player. And on behalf of Rugby Ontario, she's got a message so you can join this little supporters club and help keep grassroots rugby here in Ontario.
Hey everyone, it's Ghislaine Landry, captain of the women's sevens team. I've had so many opportunities in rugby to travel the world and play at World Cups, on the World Series, and at the Olympics, and I got my start right here in Ontario. I played for the U17 team, the U19 team, and the senior team, and a lot of my success today is because of the opportunities that I had back then. Our kids deserve that opportunity as well. The future of Rugby Ontario and rugby in Canada is under threat because of COVID-19. So Rugby Ontario has set up a program called the Supporters Club, and it's your opportunity to get involved and help keep rugby alive in Ontario. Our kids are our next generation. They're going to be representing this country in a few years, and we need to keep rugby alive, and we need to give them the opportunity to play. So if you're able, please get involved. Please check out the program and help save rugby in Ontario. Thank you.
And thank you, Ghislaine Landry. And don't forget, you can go to www.rugbyontario.com/supporters club to join in that initiative and help with the membership. Scott, this is a really big game. It's that big that it's already started. And I think you will join me right now in welcoming the star player today, by far, 100%. Jamie Mackenzie, welcome to the show, mate.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. Thanks very much for joining us today for this match. The blonde bomber, the peroxide player. What's going on with the hair? We got to ask first up. Was it a bet that you lost, or what's happening here, Jamie?
No. This is just sheer boredom. Trying to take advantage of some time here and get a little creative, trying to keep things mixed up and a little bit spicy. So this is what happened.
Well, it looks good. Looks good from here. And we've got Karen in the chat. Hi, Karen. And everyone, make sure you send through your messages for Jamie. Here's a chance to ask all your big questions of him. He's our #1 player today. Later, we're joined by Coco, the performance analyst for the team. But Jamie, a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And Scott, you've been looking at this game all week long.
Well, Jamie, yes, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you first off, what were your memories from this game?
To be honest, it's all a bit of a blur. I just remember it, like you guys said, it was win and you're in. So for that, it's a lot of pressure. But it's a really good opportunity to perform. I think I remember Spence scoring a pretty good try in this game, and then obviously the finish, which was spectacular. Sammy with that golden boot of his.
Whoa. Spoiler alert. We don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding. We gave it away yesterday. It's fine. We're here for the win.
Yeah, I was actually trying to go through my notebook. Before every game, I go through all my notes for game plan and strategy and stuff, and I was trying to find those right before this so I could have some kind of better insight into what we were actually planning and trying to get done on this day. But I couldn't find it, so
are these handwritten notes, Jamie? Are these old school handwritten notes in like a moleskin?
Yeah, usually on the way to every game, I'll go through what we've done in the week and kind of plan out, just from the game management perspective, what we're trying to do, like say first line out if we have a set play that we're going to try to execute, just making sure all those cues are ready. So I was trying to find those notes. I thought it would give me a bit more better insight into actually watching it, but couldn't find them.
And Jamie, this was your first game back from injury, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
It was in your notes. You can't find your notes because we've got them already.
Yeah, I can't find my notes. It would have been in there. It's hard to keep track of all the injuries, to be honest.
What was this particular injury, Scott? You've looked it up.
I actually have no idea. Why don't you tell us, Jamie?
Yeah, I think I pulled my groin or had like a hip pointer or something along those lines. I don't quite remember, but I remember trying to get ready just for this game and giving it a go.
And you guys must have been pretty confident going into this game. I know that you'd lost to New York early in the year, albeit that game was played on a baseball diamond, so not optimal. But were you guys pretty confident heading into this game?
Yeah, I think we were. We were on a pretty good roll heading into it, so that gave us a bit of boost there. But yeah, we knew we had a job to do, so that was like the most exciting part of it.
Now, it's lovely playing at home, and obviously today's the sort of day you really would have reveled in, right? Out on the field.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And getting to actually play at Lamport on days like this, that was spectacular. And when we get the kind of crowd that we were having out, it's so fun to play in front of, especially on this kind of day.
Now, make sure...
Talk to us...
Oh, I was just going to say, make sure the questions come in, and I've actually cut off one of Scotty's questions. They're calling you the blonde bombshell on here. I think we're going to take about 1,000 nicknames for you. I think that's part of the punishment for getting bored and dyeing your hair, Scott. I think that's international law, isn't it? You dye your hair. How many nicknames can we get out of it?
Well, didn't you? I remember you dyed your hair back in the 90s, at one point. It was pretty ugly.
You know what? The hardest part, Jamie, was that I did exactly what you did out of boredom. And then a month later, my dad got a job in a whole other city, and the whole family had to move. So I had to turn up to Newcastle with braces and the dark roots starting to come through. It was.
I'm slowly trying to phase it out. I gave the sides a trim the other day. Ben Sage is my barber right now.
Oh, wow. So he's diversified his employment opportunities during this time.
Yeah, we're looking for anything we can get right now.
We got a question here ready for you, Jamie, from one of the fans, Aaron Summerholder, I think it was, that said, do you have any tips for aspiring nines? I assume that means aspiring scrum halves.
Yeah, just a lot of it skill work, executing your passing, your kicking, all that kind of stuff. Big focus on that. And then another part of the game is the game management. And so just basically being a student of the game, watching as many games as you can, being involved as much as possible. That's a good starting place.
What are your memories of watching rugby? For me, it was, really when I got into it was the World Cup. Scotty, you would know the Jonah Lumu World Cup there, where he was just running over the top of people. What year was that? It's taking us back a little bit.
Speaking of running over the top of people, that was a pretty good try by New York.
That's Lomo-esque. Yeah, what was the period of time that where you were, soaking in all games? What was the big World Cup that kind of changed it for you, Jamie?
I don't think it was necessarily a World Cup for me. I always remember the summer test matches when like Wales would come over and play. I think there's a few games at York University, and getting to watch those when you're about 15, 16. That was kind of when I was really starting to get into rugby. So that's kind of my fondest memories of actually watching the sport.
And did you watch with your brother? Because we've already got messages about your brother. Now, we did try and get your brother on the show for a short bit, but he's got some pretty awesome news recently. I'll let you spill it, Jamie.
Oh, yeah. So he's a busy guy, and now he's got three boys under the age of 3, so he's dealing with a lot right now. So I see a question coming in about retirement. I don't think he'll be coming out of that now.
Got his hands full, so to speak. It was twins, too,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Oh,
yeah, twin boys. Yeah,
and the mother's name is
Brody. Yeah,
Brody.
Brody's doing well.
Big
She's
love to
all
Brody.
healthy.
That's a massive achievement there. And
we're
Uncle
Sorry,
Jamie, have you got a nickname? Got a nickname there, Uncle Jamie? Is that the one?
No, I don't have any nicknames. Yeah. My first nephew Hudson used to call me Jiggy because he couldn't say Jamie, so that was about it. But the Arrows could have a nice back row lined up with those three guys.
Oh, so the Mackenzie's just taken out the back row. Not a chance anyone's going to become a forward and help those poor buggers out?
I don't know. We're not designed to play up there.
You're too pretty, that's why. That's what's going on, Jamie. We all know it.
I'll take that.
I just want to know how your brother gets 94,000 followers on Instagram, because when I had a quick look at his profile, it was kind of like weird foods, high-pitched voices, TikTok videos. Like, I'm a bit old for understanding social media, but what's his appeal there? What's his target market?
I think it's all the body he's got there.
The rig.
That's what does it. Yeah, the rig. No, he's done a really good job of helping people live like a healthier lifestyle and helping them out with that. So that's his main focus after rugby now, and that's really taken off, and he's doing awesome with that. So it's pretty cool to see.
Maybe he could help you out, Elliot.
What, the kid? What, more kids or the body? Because the body's all right. It looks it's why I hide in the basement. It's bloody.
Speaking of rivalries, Jamie, I was hoping you could shed some light on your rivalry with one of your other number 9s, Andrew Ferguson. So, for example, when the team finds out that none other than Jamie Mackenzie is starting for this last game of the season, like, how are you guys at that point? Does he not talk to you for a few days? Are you still cool?
No, we never have any of that. We kind of know like our roles, whatever it is within the team on whatever week it is, and whatever the coaching staff thinks is best for the team, we're on board. So I think that's pretty awesome to be able to have that kind of relationship. And he's such a good guy, and we're always pushing each other to get better, which is really cool to be part of.
I'm finding that with rugby, you guys are all very nice to each other. Like, you'll never really say a bad word about each other. I think the most we got out of anyone was Mike Shepherd when he said he wanted to kick Glendale's ass. But you guys, like, is it just this common respect? Is this an Arrows thing, or is this just a rugby thing generally, that you guys are just, doesn't matter how long you're on the field, you know, what happens, you're all about the team, you're all about supporting each other?
Yeah, I think that's it. Actually, that kind of brings up a funny memory from this game. I think we scored a try, and their fly half was kind of in the mix of where we were, and I actually grabbed him and brought him in and started celebrating with the Rooney 10. I don't think he was too happy about that, but I was just trying to get him in on the action there.
It could be, Scott, that they're all lawyers and they don't want to run into each other in the Supreme Court one day because things could get ugly. Very
or
well
financial
educated
analysts.
players. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Could take you home. Now, we have a question here. John, thanks, John Tomlinson, John D. Tomlinson. has always been a fan of John Moonlight, and having followed the Sevens program for years, what was he like as a teammate, or what is he like as a teammate?
Yeah, Mooner is awesome. I played with him forever, like age grade Ontario, all the way up through men's, and then Arrows, obviously. He's super, super dedicated, insanely fit and hardworking, and he's an awesome athlete. It's really fun to play with a guy like that.
Scott, you're pretty sure he's an actor, right? Or was that just some
No,
bad info?
I might have heard that wrong. But Jamie, tell us about something that's coming up right here. Tell us what happens here.
Oh, Spence almost got that up, yeah. I remember that. I knew that if he just got that ball a little bit higher, we would have been able to scoop that up, and I would have been going over for 5. But it's a pretty exciting move down the sideline there. I remember I thought that was us getting back into the game, building some momentum here.
So who's to blame?
Yes,
who's to blame? Are you in the wrong position, or is it a bad pass? Come on, Jamie. The game's in the bin now.
Bit of both, yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'll be a little bit mean here. Spence screwed it up.
Oh, there we go.
There.
I have a theory. If you'll indulge me, Jamie. So we understand that Spence's parents were in the crowd for this game. So maybe he just held on to that ball a little longer, thinking he could score the try for mum and dad, and then when he did pass, it was too late.
Yeah, that's
just a theory. Just a theory.
Watching these games again, it brings back all like the little things. Like I remember when Spence does score, he actually runs up and celebrates with his parents in the try zone.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which was pretty cool. Yeah, he went straight under the post and ran up and gave them a big hug.
Oh, that's lovely. I wonder if he got an ice cream sandwich for his efforts after the match.
Ooh,
that's very sweet. It's a beautiful
That'd
day
be
for
a treat.
El, did you see we've got Gaston Mires is in the chat apparently. Any message you want to send out to Gaston in Uruguay, Jamie?
¿Qué pasa, mi hermano? That's about it. That's all I got.
What's up, my brother?
Yeah, exactly.
Gaston, great to have you on. That's great. You send us a message. Suicide Blonde is coming in from Abby. That's another nickname we're going to throw on you. One of these is going to stick, and you're going to hate this show forever, Jamie. When Spencer scores, he gets to celebrate with his folks. Such a cool moment. Agreed.
Another one, too, yeah. He could have had a Hattie this game.
Did you call him Mooners?
What's that?
Did you call John Moonlight before Mooners?
Just Mooner.
Mooner.
Yeah. Very simple nicknames we've got for each other.
Now, speaking of nicknames, you got an interesting Instagram title, Mcadoo. Now, that's the most Aussie Instagram name I think I've ever heard. Where's that come from?
I have no idea. Just one of those things, like, I think when I was younger and Instagram first came out, I just made a random name and that was it. It just
you've had a Midori and you've gone, I'm getting on Instagram. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm going to go with Mcadoo. Because it sounds very Australian. You know, obviously we've got the dollar.
At least it's positive. It's not Mac or don't, so.
Oh, that's just gold. Put that in the highlight reel for us, Brock. I love that. Now we get close to the line here. How much does it mean to play at home to you, Jamie?
Well, especially moments like this when you've got them like on their goal line and you're really trying to pressure them, and you've got that home crowd kind of cheering you on. Really just gives you a bit more incentive to dig a little deeper, make those harder hits, and really step up.
Any fans you want to give a shout out to? Have you got your own special section that's cheering for the old Mcadoo?
No, I don't. I will give a shout out to the Search Kings. I don't know if that's been shouted out on here before. That's our Call of Duty group.
Oh, interesting. The Search Kings?
Yeah, we gotta always give the Search Kings a shout out on any of these.
really rolls off the tongue. Who came up with that name?
Yeah,
brilliant.
I don't know. It's a Call of Duty thing. You wouldn't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good segue, actually, Jamie, because we did want to ask you how your video game career has progressed since the infamous MLR Rugby 20 matches a month or two ago.
I was hoping this wasn't going to come up. I didn't want to have to relive that. Yeah, it was a fire start and a steep decline after that. We left Rugby 20 behind, and now we're just focusing strictly on Call of Duty.
Speaking of focusing, what a try there by the Arrows.
Speaking of focusing, speaking of the Call of Duty, Dan Moore.
No one answers the Call of Duty better than Dan Moore.
It's amazing. I love that move he does. I love the
I love
arrow
that one.
shoot. He's been doing that from day one. That is
yeah, exactly.
It's got a little TM next to it every time he does it. You can't. Nobody can even try that.
This was such an awesome set piece move that just worked out like basically perfectly as well as you could. We end up scoring off of it, which is awesome.
How's that pass to throw that ball backwards?
I know,
there?
so
Looks
good.
like he dislocated his elbow or something to make sure that headed in the right direction.
Yeah. It's crazy if you watch that over again. The line that Tone runs, Gaston, he just holds up everyone, and that's what gives us the space on the wing there, which is pretty sweet.
Gaston sent a message via YouTube. He says, "Big hug, boys. Hope everything is okay over there." So, big hug to you.
Miss you, buddy.
Gaston, we all miss you. The whole team misses you. Absolute firecracker this season and last.
Speaking of Uruguayans, I thought I knew something about rugby, Jamie, but Leandro, who I thought was the left winger, in that move is passing the ball on the right for Dan to score. How does that happen?
Yeah, so Leo actually worked all the way around, so it's a play where we've got some guys coming over, some out the back. The idea is to try to get guys to turn their hips in so you get some more space on the outside. So that's where Leo comes in, and makes that extra number, which puts Dan away in the corner.
And I like that about Leo. He's not confined by his position or his position in life. He'll just wander around the field. He'll take some forward hit ups. He'll go and ride his horse. He'll jump on the ride. Like he's really a free spirit, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. It's fun playing with him because he'll just look for any opportunity. He'll be screaming for it. Just goes mine, 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 mine.
Bill says, "Miss you, Tone." It's going all the way out to Gaston there. And a question from Bill J-Mac, another great nickname. J-Mac, give us a flavour of what the post-match socials are like at Williams Landing. How was the one after this match?
Oh, this one, I remember it being absolutely insane. I don't even think we could get like all our family in. We packed the whole place. It was awesome environment. It's so cool to there's not many sports out there where you get to actually hang out with the whole team after a game, especially professionally. So for us to be able to do that with our fans and celebrate a win, sending us to the playoffs is amazing, especially at a venue like that.
Now, we've spoken about this before where you have the post-game meal with the other team. Does that occur? How does that occur in these really intense matches?
Yeah, again, I think it speaks to the culture of rugby. Like everybody just does their thing, hangs out with each other. A lot of the guys playing for the Canadian team against the U.S. team a lot. We know a lot of all these players on the other teams, so it's a good chance to actually catch up. You kind of leave everything that happened on the field, and just enjoy a beer and get to hang out with them.
Speaking about on the field, there's a moment here, Jamie, that we'll get you to comment on, and I think it's coming up in about 40 seconds. So we'll just let this play out, and then you can talk us through this movement.
Yeah, for sure. This is always an exciting part when you get in the 22 and you're just trying to build some momentum and keep the phases going.
And you're very busy at this point. You're in everything.
Yeah, exactly. And once you get advantage there, you can try some things. So I think this New York week we've been working on, if my memory is right here, a set piece that we'd planned specifically just to try to take advantage of them pinching in around the breakdown. So as you'll see here, we're kind of setting it up. You see G getting ready to take a ball there. We're just building another phase and then trying to get guys around the corner, hopefully finding some space. So you can see Spence line up his run from miles away.
What about that pass? That was brilliant.
Yeah. So we have two guys lining up there with their hands out, so it looks like both of them are going to be options and get the ball, and then it just flat pass right in front, and it's actually pretty cool because it's an invisible pass. You're passing to no one. Spence has to just trust that you're going to put it where you need to, and he runs into the space.
And I wanted to ask you about that. So that is, you're intentionally looking for Spencer at that point, or is it more you're just throwing the ball across and seeing who runs onto it?
I know Spence is gonna be there. I'm just throwing it into the space where he isn't yet. So it's kind of you gotta just trust each other. I know
impressive.
Giuseppe's a little upset about that try because that's usually his job, is that role. And so, like, when we're practicing it in training, he is always scoring those training tries, and then Spence got to do it in the game.
Yeah, between Elliot pronouncing his name wrong and missing out on tries, it's been a tough few weeks on this show.
I've already apologized for that.
Poor guy, eh?
I'm sorry. I tried my best, and I mangled it, as was expected. Guy like me could get Dan Moore's name wrong in a second. Little hydration.
Nice comment here from one of the fans. Natalie Bolger says, the social after the game, I missed my flight back to PEI. So it must have been a big one.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
You know it's good then.
I had a message here before, a question from Karen. Thank you, Karen, for your message. And obviously, thank you, Natalie, for that lovely insight. What has been your favourite ever pitch to play on, Jamie?
Ooh. I've played on a few ones that kind of bring back some good memories. My first cap we played was against Belgium, and it was on a really, really small, but absolutely packed stadium. And just being in that kind of environment for your first cap was really cool. This field that the Spanish team plays
in Bruges, or where was that?
Yeah, it was. It was.
So the only place I know.
Yeah, the other field that I really like is the field that the Spanish team plays on. It's kind of like in a big bowl, and that one's really cool.
Big paella bowl. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Natalie Bolger, you're a legend. That's coming direct from the Toronto Arrows. That's a good question, that one. And, I mean, the biggest thing now is that like you end up playing on so many different surfaces, these artificial surfaces and the real surfaces. Nothing really does beat the grass stains on the kit.
Yeah, exactly. With too much turf burn out there now.
Turf burners. That could have been the name of your Call of Duty squad. Surge Kings. I don't get it.
That could be a better name than Surge Kings.
Maybe it's because I'm only playing Rocket League, but I'll have to get on this Call of Duty and see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of pitches, Jamie, I'd love for you to tell us a World Cup story or two, because you've been to 3 World Cups, New Zealand, England, and Japan. You must have some interesting stories from your trips to those tournaments.
Yeah, they have all been awesome. I think the coolest story for me personally is starting a World Cup game with my brother. That's one of the special memories that we get to share. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. Being part of the New Zealand World Cup, even though I didn't get to play in that one, was really awesome. And then Japan just did such a good job of hosting the tournament. It was absolutely spectacular the way they put it on.
So did you get to try much of the local cuisine in Japan, or was your diet pretty regimented based on what Rugby Canada dictated?
You're training so much that you need a lot of calories. The boys got into something called Ichiran. It's like basically... how I understood it was almost like the Tim Hortons of ramen down there. So it's just like a big chain that's everywhere, and we were going 2 times a day. It was amazing.
Now Tim Hortons of ramen. I love that. I don't know if I want to eat there. Not trying to ruin your sponsorship chances, but yeah.
Now, a very special moment to be lacing up the boots for a World Cup with your brother, right? How you probably had that that moment in your head for since you were kids. Talk us through a little bit about that. Any special moments before games? Any special looks? This is it. We've done it.
I remember lining up in the tunnel before we went out to sing the anthem, and I grabbed and I was like, "Come on, you got to stand beside me." because he wasn't even thinking about it. I think he was more focused on the game. I was like, oh, it'll be nice, get the picture together or whatever.
Yeah, mum needs a photo, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I remember having to do that and pull him beside me. But yeah, no, we just kind of soaked it all in. It's such a cool moment at that kind of stage too, and I think it was in front of like 40,000 fans in England there.
And rugby fans in general, they don't mind what team's playing. They just want to see a good game of rugby, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we love a great game, whether it's you know, teams you don't know that well and teams you do. Scott, you've followed this game pretty well, and look, this is just a back and forth, right? This is now 12-7. How's it been running?
Yeah, I'm glad you can read the score, El. Your rugby's come a long way in the last 5 weeks, but that's a good.
You know, I'm still waiting for my LASIK. I got LASIK a few years ago, and I used to have those big glasses, and they told me when I get close to 40, it's probably going to crap out. So look, I'm pretty proud I can read it too right now, to be honest, even though it's only 12 inches away from me.
Sorry, I'm winding you up there, El, but my interpretation of this game was that the New York started quite well and clearly scored that try, but then the Arrows really started to get some dominance in this game. What was your interpretation, Jamie, being out there?
Yeah, that's you put it very well there. They came out really firing. They scored that try in the corner, and then it was just us kind of. It's always difficult starting a game like that, and feel like you're playing catch up. So it's more important for us to just kind of get into our patterns, our structures, and build some momentum. So we're just trying to play with it and not try anything too crazy. Just hold on to the ball, build phases, and put them under pressure to make tackles.
And how's the groin feeling at this point, if that was your injury you're coming back from? Fair question.
I think I was struggling in this game. I think towards the second half, I might have got subbed off like right after half. I don't really remember, but I think I was struggling.
I can actually remind you of that, Jamie, because it was the 50th minute that I think you came off, and the person who replaced you may have had a instrumental part in something that happened in the second half. But we won't spoil it, even though most viewers have probably know what happened in this game.
It's a classic Scott.
I'm so excited to see how it ends.
Classic Scott moment where he tells you that your replacement does a great job. Now, Scott, you didn't ask me about my fitness before this game, and I won't take it personally. This is a huge moment.
Hang on, I want to ask Jamie. Can we just ask Jamie quickly, what the hell happened in that line out? Because when Elliot was editing this, we almost wanted to put like the Benny Hill music behind that, and I think we'll see a replay in the moment. Maybe you can talk us through this, Jamie. Talk us through this.
Half the time, I don't even know what these guys are doing in those things, so I just tell them to get me the ball as quickly
He's
as they
thrown
can.
the ball straight into his head there.
I think it might have been a miscue with the lift, or I'm not really sure. It's always mayhem up there.
Looks like something Rob Brower probably does with his kids, like when he's just messing around and throws a ball at his head, and then, it's just a bit of fun in the backyard.
It wasn't even Lucas saying, like, throw it here. Like, use your head, throw it here. That was a very embarrassing moment. Maybe right there to pop one right in the head.
Those things happen, though.
That happens. It's sports. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it gives us a chance to show how good our scrum is. So hopefully we win this one.
El, what were you going to say about your fitness or your lack thereof?
I was in good fitness. I remember this game clearly. Cleared all my injuries. Groin was feeling good. We were playing some music. It was a good energy this one. This is one game that I remember very, very clearly. This is a great match, great atmosphere down there at Lamport Stadium. Streetcars dinging by, raccoons stayed in their holes.
It's such a cool environment down there. The whole atmosphere is unreal.
It is the
Jamie, talk to us. Sorry, El.
No, I was just going to say beer garden would go just top shelf today.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie, what's it like to have courtside seats to a scrum?
It's interesting. I usually just stand there and yell things at the ref and just say, he's doing it every time, or something along those lines, even though I don't know what he's doing.
That's the classic thing my dad used to yell at the TV.
He's bringing it down. He's bringing it down.
He's been doing it all day, ref. He's been doing it all day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always just
Well,
trying to
they
get that in
must,
the air, or say something like, "Oh, he didn't put it in straight." Just try to get any little edge you can around that.
There must be some like interesting sounds that come out of a scrum when you're that close to it. I
Oh,
can only imagine.
And smells.
Oh dear. And there is a scrum move that towards the end of this first half that I'd like to ask you about that involves yourself, Jamie, but we'll revisit that in about 8 minutes' time.
Now, Jamie, as I was creeping your Instagram earlier today, because I like to keep my research fresh, I did notice that you, it looks like you stood in front of a couple of houses under construction. Can you and you're asking for a HGTV show names. Now, are you a builder? Are you a constructing man? Is that part of?
Yeah, I am. It's something I've kind of found myself into the last two years here. Yeah, me and my brother had an opportunity to buy a piece of property and tear it down, and I managed the build for that one. And now him and his family actually live in it. And I'm actually about to start another house, probably hopefully next week once I get my building permit.
Wow, this is amazing. Where did you pick up those skills?
Kind of from my family, I guess. My grandpa was a roofer, so I grew up always going to work with him, always hanging out, being around that kind of environment. And he always just bought houses and fixed them up while he lived in them. So he still comes to work with me every day when we're building a house, which is so cool.
Your grandfather
and
does?
then I also, yeah, he's
70,
78 now. He's probably in better shape than any guy on the team. It's crazy.
Wow, that is
he's
amazing.
An absolute stud,
What's your grandfather's name? We'll give him a shout out. I'm sure he's watching.
Jake. Yeah.
Jake McKenzie.
Jake's a roofie.
That is so. Did anyone give you any decent names for your HGTV show?
Oh, I'd have to go through them. I think there's a couple good ones. You might be able to pull them out there.
Well, we thought what we'd do is we'd throw it out to the fans who are watching today. If you've got a great name for Jamie's show on HGTV, I do know people. I'm good friends with the producer of the Property Brothers. Like, we're straight in here, Jamie. You and me, 50-50 split.
Yeah.
I'll take care of everything behind the scenes. You just rip your shirt off and start banging in a few nails, and it'll be great. Now, talking of taking your shirt off, this is what I really want to get to. Now, do your pecs have names? Because they're all over your Instagram. That's lefty, righty.
Probably got their own accounts.
Yeah. Holyfield, Tyson. Feel free to let us know what they are, or maybe that's just something for your special someone.
Ben Lesage is managing those accounts for me. He's my social media manager.
Ben, you and me.
He tells me I have to do it. Yeah.
I'll meet you at the negotiation table to become the agent of this man.
I just do what he says.
Clearly has. You got a lot of potential here outside rugby. Now, you were in Santa Teresa because I was creeping hard on this, and you were surfing and fishing down there. And one of my mates is down there, and he's a DJ, and he's also an Australian fella. You might have run into him. His name's Courtney. Maybe not. But tell us, it looks like you're an outdoors man. You love to surf. You like to fish. You got an Aussie Instagram name. Did you grow up in the wrong country? That's my real question here, Jamie.
Apparently I might have, actually. No, yeah, it's just I like exploring as much as I can, and traveling. It's something I've gotten to do a ton with rugby, so it's something I always try to do when I step away from the sport as well.
You love to fish. I love to fish as well. Where's your favourite fishing spots? Give me your top two.
I think just my cottage. Some great bass fishing, pike, muskie, everything up there. It's a really surreal place. It's beautiful up there.
And how far away is this? This is up one of the lakes up north of Toronto, I'm guessing, somewhere around there?
Yeah, this is about 3 hours north of Toronto. So
see, 3 hours is good. 2 hours is what the downtown people usually do, but 3 means you're serious about this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about 40 minutes north of Parry Sound.
Well, there you go.
Jamie, we set you up perfectly there The right answer was Langara Island is the best fishing in the world. We couldn't have given you an easier sponsor plug. How do we get on a Langara Island fishing trip? Because it sounds like a lot of fun.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, yeah. I've heard all about them. I just need to try one out.
I'll film it too for free, as long as someone can put me up, cook the fish, and do all the hard work. This is, so you're an outdoors man. You like to stay busy, you like to stay active. This is obviously a tricky time for you when you're kind of stuck inside. It was like, so you dyed your hair. I mean, I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then me and the roommates have been building patio furniture. So Shep will actually drop off some pallets of, from the beers that he delivers, and then we'll make those some patio furniture, which has been good fun, keeping us busy a little bit.
Does he drop off beer at the same time, or just give you the empty pallets?
He does occasionally, yeah. Sometimes he will. He's kind of the best visitor we got.
I made plans with Shep after last week's episode that we're going for a beer, like very soon. He's such a friendly guy.
I'll wait for my invite.
Yeah, we'll bring you along, but you gotta keep your shirt on, make us all look good.
Speaking of travelling, Jamie, is it true that you were born in Scotland?
Yep. Yeah, I was born in a town called Troon in Scotland. Troon, yeah.
Wow. I don't know where Troon is. Where's that near?
Close to Ayr.
Yeah, well, we're all close to Ayr, mate. It's around us everywhere. No idea.
It's in Scotland somewhere.
Just say Edinburgh, Glasgow, and no.
Yeah,
look, we love Scotland. Scotty, you met me there on a trip of, what was that, 2011?
Yeah, Elliot and I once went on a backpacking trip through Scotland after his first marriage broke down, but we won't go into that too much.
I wasn't married. I wasn't even married. The engagement. We called the engagement off. My wife's going to kill me. I swear to God, I wasn't married. I found the jacket that I used to, remember it was raining so much, the black rain jacket I was wearing around while every morning we went and got snake bites for breakfast and then went dancing out in Edinburgh. It was good times. I got a lot of love in my heart for the Scottish. They know how to enjoy the good things in life, drinking, rugby, and talking bleep.
Okay, there's something happening here, El. We should check this out. Jamie, what's happening here? What's your role in this?
I don't even know what kicked that off. At this point, you're just trying to get a hold of your guys and separate them. And there's usually some guys throwing some cheeky shots in there. Mostly handbags in this one. I don't think it gets too serious.
I did see one of these. That's not a legit punching move.
But you can see Tone and Foden just having a laugh there. Yeah. Yeah, what started this off was a shot from G. Oh, Pete, maybe? Pete's usually stirring things up in there.
Nice to see you're not respecting each other all the time. There's still some I mean, this was a big game, so it's natural to see things spill over sometimes.
Yeah, that is not good social distancing at all. That is...
No, definitely not.
What's the ref got to say here?
Yeah, he's probably just telling Dan get the boys to calm down a little bit. No afters.
I actually listened to this earlier, Elliot. He said, respect the values. We know there's a lot on the line. It was actually a really nice speech that he gave. It was, and you can see Dan here relays it to his team. Look at these hand signals.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I love that.
That's the angriest I think I've ever seen Dan Moore.
Now, Jamie, there's another move coming up here after this scrum. I want you to talk us through this, and we'll maybe we'll give our feedback afterwards. We'll wait till this scrum packs, but you're a little move involving yourself here.
I don't remember this one. It's been so nice for us having such a good scrum that you usually have a good platform to work off of, and you see like the likes of Tone taking advantage of that. He scored some wicked tries and set some guys up. Such a treat to have. So yeah, here we're just trying to clear it, but under pressure, so I sliced it off my foot a little bit there.
How's your golf game?
So what?
Not any better than my kicking.
That's a bit harsh. No, what we're really curious about, Jamie, is what does it mean when you tap the ball on the top of the scrum like that? Like, is that code for something?
So there's usually different cues. So it'll be usually dependent on your hooker and what kind of like the team has talked about to kind of get everybody set to engage in that scrum. So some guys like the ball to actually be tapped so they can feel it on their hand, and then they know it'll be put in the next like kind of little bit. Yeah, it's just another cue to help the forwards get ready.
Number 6 was just crowd surfing there on top of that scrum. What is happening? What is happening here? It looks like a human pyramid is fallen down at a slip over.
The boys do a good job. Oh.
Bit of a controversial moment, this one, because it was ruled no try, but I think it was the touch judge really made the call here. You'll see the ref consulting him. Knock on.
Oh.
Well, that was a bit harsh, but we'll take it. Helped us.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Well, he was in the right position to make the call, that's for sure. Shout out to all the referees. What a great...
It's never easy being a ref.
Not a very...
I believe our next guest was once a referee, wasn't he? Was Coco once a referee?
I'm going to ask him about that. He's got some great moments he's going to shed some light on. And you worked along Coco for a while now, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how does he connect with the players when he's involved as the performance and analyst manager for the Toronto Arrows?
He's usually just battling with guys over their stats. Guys saying I didn't miss this tackle or this was a positive tackle, so he has to deal with that. I'm usually going at him because I thought a pass was good, and he might say it was a bad one. So
interesting.
Yeah,
so that's he's the one who's got to ask the tough questions, I'm guessing here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jamie, any messages?
Him, so you know exactly what kind of criteria he's dealing with for all his stats.
We'll run him through the ringer just like we did with you, mate.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're almost at half time here, Jamie, so we'll be sadly farewelling you soon, but really appreciate your time. Any messages for the Arrows fans out there who are obviously doing it a bit tough at the moment without any rugby?
No, just the support's been amazing. The fact that we're doing things like this to keep the fans engaged and that they have an opportunity to stay involved during such a tough time has been amazing. As a player, to see that kind of support means the world to us. We don't always get the opportunity to kind of share that with the fans, but we do see those comments. We see people tuning into streams like this, and it's amazing to be a part of that.
Well, look, we'd love to say thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and thanks for being a wonderful guest on our final episode. And we wish you all the best. And we can't wait to see you back on the field in 2021.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
All right,
thanks,
everyone.
Jamie.
Thanks to Jamie, and we're gonna have a quick break, and then we'll be right back with Coco, the performance analyst for the team.
the way they play. Both sides have found a lot of purchase out wide. They've attacked well when they've run that second line attack and gone around the fringes.
I think patience will be key, and says it right there, at least for the Toronto people. They're hoping for a chance to play for a title in their first year in Major League Rugby, as is Rugby United.
Marsh takes it cleanly at the back.
Well,
bangs it back
I didn't turn my microphone on properly. So there we go. That was a beautiful intro. Coco, are you with us there, mate?
That is an excellent
I'm here.
kick.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that was such a great intro, too. I can't believe I duffed that. Thank you for joining us, Coco, the Performance and Analyst Manager for the Toronto Arrows. We're really, really glad to have you here. And thank you to Jamie for joining us in the first half. He just sent us a message saying he did find his notes. So, Jamie, B+, mate. Now, Coco, you are here at this game, and you're the man we really wanted to speak to because you've been on a bit of a media run this week.
Yeah, apparently my celebrity continues this week. I was on the radio show earlier the week, and now I'm with you guys, and I guess they've saved the best for last.
Absolutely. Well, look, this is it's a pleasure to have you on the show as we kick in now. This is a very tight game at 12-7 at halftime. Can you tell us a little bit about your role first of all, and then the moves that you would have mentioned at halftime for the team to get themselves in a winning position?
So I'm the performance analyst, the head performance analyst, and my job basically is to really two things where I coordinate all the video for the coaches and the players to review afterwards. I have a team that works with me, the three guys, a guy named 𝐷𝒉𝒆, Adam Oz, and James Topping. And in this game, my assistant was Tom McLeod. And what we do is call it coding, where everything that happens in the game, we basically record it so that it's all classified. So at the end of the game, if somebody wants to see all the scrums, we press a button, all you see are the scrums. You want to see personal highlights. So for Jamie, for example, we press a button and everything that Jamie did in the game would come up. So that's what the first part of my job is, to do all the video coordination for all that. And then the next thing I do is I also do all the analytics for the team. So I put together the stats, the guy's performance. We do analysis based on that. Everything the guys do on the field is tracked and recorded so that the guys and the coaches have an idea of what the performance is like.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that would go down as a bad pass.
Now, Coco, this is on me. I asked you to put some headsets on, but I'm going to ask you now, can we switch to your computer, your computer setup, because I had better sound the other day. I'm going to just put you on mute for a second because we weren't going to spend the whole half with you. I'm just going to pop that down on mute there for a second. We'll switch to your desktop audio. Scott, you can walk us through this play here.
Well, this was clearly disappointing for the Arrows to give up an intercept when they were really in the ascendancy, and that was really against the run of play, and it brought New York right back into this game at 12-12, and then they made the kick from right in front. So the Arrows setting a bit of a challenge for themselves at the start of the second half, but they had some work to do here to get back on top after this. And that the number 10 for New York, very impressive. I think Irish player 𝐤𝐴𝐞 𝐂𝐥𝐚𝐬𝐬. He's a very impressive kicking game. He really impressed me throughout this game.
He's been a great proponent of the game in the United States. 27 caps as an Eagle. He's just a really good player to be around on the field. Very physical, but he leads by example. As we see Marsh add the extra point, so it's 14 points to 12. Rugby United, New York.
Coco, can you hear us now? I know Elliot's playing around with your audio.
James, a match with as much on the line as tightly
no, he's on mute.
Coco, we've
that is not the case, but a critical error early
can you say hello? Give us a hi. Nope, nothing there. Everything's good on my end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call Coco back, and we'll try again. We're using desktop audio because we can't wait to spend the half with you. Be right with you there, Coco. Scotty, you can walk us through this while I look like a deer in the headlights sending emails.
Good little quick tap. There's Wallace Sims with a left foot kick over the top. Where will this bounce? Bounces awkwardly straight into the hands of Petrie. He can't hold on.
Well, that was a great move there by New York. Very unlucky not to go in for a try. And the Arrows are really feeling the pressure at this point. So, I really noticed about this game that New York started both halves really well. They had a great first 10 minutes of the first half. And then the start of the second, they're really putting the pressure on the Arrows here again. So this is a great little kick and chase here from one of their backs. Took a nasty bounce. Arrows fans, if you're out there, if you were at this game, I think it was one of the biggest crowds we've ever had at Lamport Stadium for an Arrows game. Let us know in the comments on Facebook. They'll show up on the stream. We've got David Hardington, one of our good friends in here, who's always making his lame jokes, says pretty fly for a fly half. Typical of something he'd say. David, hope you're well, and your lovely wife, Catherine, big rugby fan. We see this replay again here.
Wouldn't be live television with a little bit of a hiccup. Coco will be back with us in just a moment. I did ask him to wear, go with the headphone set, so this is on me. Sounded great the other day. We're having a good chat. Do a little test every week.
Well, he's being an analyst, he's going to give a pretty damning assessment of this start of the second half for you, Elliot, particularly as someone who's focused on editing video. I don't want to see how your KPIs score after this from Coco, because it could be quite damning.
Look, my biggest job right now is stop trying to look so red like a beetroot in front of this light. Now, I got Coco back here. Hopefully, Coco, you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
There we go. I did it. Oh, I just didn't put you on the screen. Hang on. No, that would be smart. Scott, cover me for a second, brother.
Yep, Coco, we'll be back with you in a sec. We can hear you a lot clearer than we could before. I think the issue was the sound was a bit muffled, mate. There you are.
Hey.
No problem.
Mate, great
Nothing
to have
like
you there.
live broadcast.
Oh, it's the best, isn't it? It's fantastic. Now, we're going to get straight into this with a question. What's supposed to be in Toronto this weekend and plans to see the Rooney match next year? That's not a question. Sorry, John. I've read it like one. That's why I failed Year 10 English. Thanks, Mr. _𝑍𝒂𝒑. Okay, so now we're in this position. This game is super tight. Please, let's just go back a little bit. You mentioned a little bit about your role there. Let's get the cliff notes on your role right now while the game is 14 to 12, and it's a must-win match. What are you doing right now, Coco?
Sorry?
Tell us about what you're doing right now when you're at the game. Take yourself back to 2019.
So at this moment, what I'm doing is I'm working with a team of a couple guys here. And what we're doing is we're videotaping the game, mainly because we don't trust the TV feed. So we actually make a video of our own video. Every once in a while, the TV will cut out to, somebody in the stands. Meanwhile, they'll miss a crucial moment on the field.
Right.
So we make our own video.
I have a little idea what that's like.
What we're doing is, on top of filming the game, but we're actually tagging and coding everything that happens in the game. So we can actually produce replays for the coaching staff to go back and look at something. And then the players and the coaching staff will review it afterwards. And I'm also producing live stats. So we take a running score of scrums, lineouts, penalties. We're tracking possession. We're tracking territory, so that the coaches, when they go to halftime, have got some information to give to the players, or they've at least can confirm some of their opinions with the numbers, so that when they go into the halftime and talk to the players, they've got an idea what they're talking about.
So you're running on several different parts of the brain right here. You're trying to keep an idea on how many tackles, passes, all that sort of thing. You're running technological equipment, not doing it as poorly as I do. That's a huge job in the moment. Do you live for the adrenaline of this sort of stuff?
You know what? I've been doing this for a long time. I go all the way back to the original Ontario Blues program in the first year. So I've been doing it so long, it's kind of second nature to me now. But I also have a team of guys that work with me because it is a lot going on and it's too much for one person. So when we are at home, we usually have a team of analysts that, one guy's doing the video, one guy's doing stats, one guy's doing all the coding. So it is a bit of a team job there.
And where are you actually, Coco? Here, so we see a big run here from one of the forwards. I'm not sure what happened there. But, Coco, where are you actually sitting at Lamport Stadium when you're performing your role?
So on the other side, if you see the stands where all the fans are, we're actually on the other side, kind of near the top of the stands, midfield. And we set up a coach's booth there where all the analysts sit, as well as 2 or 3 of the coaching staff. We sit in there as well, and we're connected by radios to the bench. So there's a constant feedback and communication going to the field from the coaching booth, and we've got a really good view there. Like you see pretty much everything from the view that we have.
So are you actually in that media box there at the top of the west stand?
Usually we set something up on the outside. It gets pretty stuffy in there. And
only one side has a toilet from memory too. I remember that.
And in all honesty, I was there when they opened up Lamport Stadium when they took the dome off, and I saw what the raccoons did to it, and I was like, we're going to set up outside.
Now, I called the big one Bitey. Do you have any names for the raccoons down there, Coco? They do live under the stadium.
One was pretty nasty. We started calling him Winokur for a little bit.
I'm going to get a text any second here. Yeah, I did want to speak to actually the Lamport Stadium experience. I mean, it's been there since, Scott, 1970, mid-70s, somewhere around there. It's seen its day. There was a group of raccoons living in one corner and a group of feral cats at the other at some point. But they usually don't poke their head out on game day. Now, Coco, we mentioned this in the first half, you've been an analyst and a performance manager for a while, but you go back to the playing days, you're a player, and then you're also a referee for a while.
That's correct. When I retired early when I was 19 due to knee injuries, so I got into refereeing, and I refereed good 10, 11 years before I hung those boots up and got into coaching, and that eventually led into the analysis.
So this is really, really interesting. As a referee, you're our first special guest who's been a referee before, and we often speak to the generosity and the consciousness between the players. They're very kind and respectful to each other. Can you tell us about it from your side of things? How do you calm down a player who's revving pretty hard at the moment? How do you get your point across?
Every referee has their own way of dealing with the hotheads out there. Some use humor. Some tend to be a bit of, they tend to power trip on you a little bit. But every referee has their own kind of way of dealing with that hothead out there. I tended to be pretty sympathetic to the players, and I'd say, I get it, relax, calm down, and I like to use humor as well. But like I said, every referee, you look at somebody like Nigel Owen, who's one of the best referees in the world, and he's known for his zingers out there, right? And that seems to diffuse things. But like I said, every referee develops their own, I like to call it defense mechanism to calm people down.
So you're the MC out there. You're the master of ceremonies. You got to have a zinger. You got to know who you're talking to. It's
you know what? When I was refereeing, and they still do it today, you look at it almost as like you're a police officer, right? Dealing with somebody that's done something, and you've got to kind of be the person that calms everybody down, figures out what has happened, and then make the right decision based on that. So there's a lot of similarities to that.
Coco, I want to take you back to your role as an analyst for a moment. Now, I saw your interview on the Mike Richards show during the week. It was really informative. And in that interview, I think you mentioned 16 KPIs or something around that number that you're looking for in terms of the Arrows' performance. Can you talk about, in this second half of this game, were there particular KPIs that you were really focused on in terms of how the Arrows could secure this win?
Yeah, there was a couple of things that we saw at halftime in this game. Our handling errors were actually higher than we normally would have in a half. I think, we averaged maybe 3 or 4 in a half. This game, the handling errors, and you can see that with some of the offloading and that Jamie was talking about, we were quite high. We were around 8 in the first half, and that led to other issues. It led to our possession being lower than normal. We were below the 50% mark. So when we went into the halftime, we basically said to the guys, if we hang on to the ball a little bit longer, we'll have a lot more success. We felt that playing Rooney, that we could move him around the field. They were pretty, what we call them, the station-to-station team, where they thrived off set piece. But if we could move them around, make them play defense through numerous phases, that we could really break them down. And at this point in the game, we're still making some mistakes, and Rooney's actually dominating the possession, and we can't get our hands on the ball. And I thought that if we could just turn it around, get our hands on the ball, and make Rooney play defense, that we really had a shot winning this game.
Now, Coco, I've read through one of the statistics reports from one of these games, and they're clearly very comprehensive documents. And as someone who thinks they know quite a bit about rugby and sport, I felt like I knew what most of the statistics were referring to. But there are a couple that I just had no idea what they meant. So I thought I might throw a couple of those at you right now, and you could fill in the fans for us if that works for you.
Sure, go ahead.
So the first one is they talk about quick ball and quick ball percentages. What is defined as quick ball?
Basically, quick ball, we have a time to it. Anything that's produced, any ball is taken into a ruck. If we can produce it within 3 seconds, it's considered quick ball. And the reason you want quick ball is because the defense hasn't had time to reset, and that's when you want to attack them. Anything over 3 seconds, we consider it slow ball. And basically, the defense has had time to set at that moment, and you're really limited in options in terms of what you can do for your attack.
Okay, so the second one I had, and I have 3 here to ask you, Coco, is gain line. There's a lot of mentions of gain line in these statistics reports, and I wasn't quite sure what that referred to either.
The gain line is basically what we call the advantage line. It's the invisible mark on the field where we consider we're going forward, where we have forward progress. And it tends to be the offside line where the 2 teams are in contact. And basically what you want to do is you want to get over that line, because if you get over that line, it means the defense is moving backwards. Forwards have to turn around, reset. It takes longer to set your defense if you're going backwards. But if you get stopped behind the gain line, then obviously the defense has the advantage, because now the attacking team is the one that's taking longer to get set and for the next phase of play. So that's what the gain line is.
Elliot, I think gain line means a bit something different in your profession, doesn't it?
Mate, I feel like I'm back in year 10 maths with no idea what's happening. Seriously. It's like bloody Minority Report. Just numbers and lines and answers required, and I've got none of them. No, I mean, obviously, it's a job I'm not suited for. It's an amazing amount of information you got to keep in your head, Coco, and then you got to package it and send it off to people to make like real-time decisions. Like, have you ever considered becoming an air traffic controller?
No, you don't want me doing that job. There would be a lot of dead people.
Well, it's really easy right now because there's only like 7 planes in the air at one time. So now's your chance.
I have one more question, Elliot, before I put you to sleep with these statistic questions, because I know Elliot wants to talk about the fun stuff.
Mate, I feel like I'm doing the HSC all over again.
That's the the high school exam for Canadians. But hit-up efficiency, Coco. Last question. Hit-up efficiency. How is that calculated?
I like this one.
Basically, it's like, best way to describe it is when you carry the ball, was it a positive carry? Like, are you going forward? Did we win the ball? did you put us in a position to attack from the next phase? There's nothing worse than a negative hit up where you're going backwards or you've lost the ball and you've put yourself in a position where you have no options to attack on the next phase, and what you have to do is kick the ball away. It's almost like punting in football, and because you're in such a poor position to attack from, and a mistake could really hurt you. So what you do is you just get rid of the ball, put it down the field, play for territory, and then hope to get the ball back in the next couple of phases. So if your hit up isn't efficient and you're not going forward, then it leads to a turnover.
So that run by Luke Campbell was hit up efficiency times 5, I'm guessing, that we just saw.
Yeah, that's quite a positive carry there.
Love the input from Catherine. Terrible scrums, good line breaks.
She's a woman of few words, Catherine.
She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
It's a big match.
Coco, I thought it was interesting what you said about the quality, well, not the quality, but that you can't necessarily rely on broadcast footage when you're performing analysis. And I'll probably throw a few people under the bus here, but it's my perception that with a few games in the MLR, you've probably seen a few broadcast crews, not our ones in Toronto, of course, but maybe that haven't filmed a lot of rugby before. And there's some random shots and it's like, why are they looking there? And then you see some that obviously, get better over time. But would you say generally the broadcast quality in the league has improved over the last couple of seasons?
It really depends on where we are. There's some broadcasts are just not good. Like there's one place.
Oh, let's not name
every
names.
Line out, no names. One place, every line out is shot from behind the hooker, and you can't see anything in the line out from that. Like you really can't. All you see is the back of the hooker's head, and it's tough to really understand what's going on there. Some of the places we play at, some of the video vantage points are not great, and so it's just we take our own video because we can trust that video. We know what we're looking for. There are things that we want to shoot that the TV crews have absolutely no intent or desire to shoot. But our coaches have asked for certain things to be, close-ups of certain things. I also have a second camera running as well, and it stays as a wide-angle shot. So we have one camera that zooms in and out of the play, and another camera that basically just gives you the wide angle shot. So, and then what I do is after the game, I overlay it so that the coaches actually can see the play happening in unison with a close-up shot as well as a wide shot.
So the coaches are heading home. They're watching the game film that evening.
Yep.
Is it very, very important to sort of, take all the moments from the game and watch it and then analyze it within that, 12-hour period after the match, I'm guessing?
Yeah, right after the game, within an hour of the game finishing, all the coaches have laptops as well, and we use analysis software, and all their laptops have the analysis software. So one of the jobs I have after the game is to load up all their computers with the game film.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So when a lot of us are off celebrating in the beer garden, having a beer, they might, have a soft drink, and then they've got to get to work. It's very important, I'm guessing, get that information, get ready for the next match, and obviously the travel that's involved to get there.
If you ever come to Williams Landing after a game, you'll see everybody kind of having fun. You'll see me in the corner of the bar with a computer stuck to my face.
A beer in your hand, maybe a light beer?
I'm usually driving, so maybe just one.
Smart man. Coco, we got a question. Yep, Scotty's got it.
No, I saw, by the way, Elliot, that your wife also just joined the chat on Facebook, so pressure's on here. She's probably happy to have you out of the house and in your office there.
She usually takes a 2-hour walk at this point of the day, so I'm sure her and Sophia and Annabelle are loving it. We got a great question here from Catherine. Coco, do you watch much game footage of other teams?
We watch every game played every week in the MLR.
Wow, that is crazy amount of rugby
And
to watch in a game.
And we break it down to the 16 KPIs that Scott was talking about for every single game. Every single game is coded like we code our games, and it's all uploaded to a website which the players and the coaches all have access to. So, and then when that's all done, we actually database all that information as well.
So once upon a time, if you imagined yourself not a very sportsy person, guy or girl, these days there's a huge opportunity if you love math, if you love science, if you love research, to really get involved in sports.
Oh yeah, it's a great opportunity. There's a huge need for analysts, and it's become a very important part of every team's breakdown of a game. I think there's courses in universities overseas. They're actually offering university degrees in analysis, and and if you go to any pro sport, baseball, hockey, football, they're all doing the same thing that we're doing. They're breaking the games down to the absolute smallest, minute detail.
Now, Scott, I got a question for you. If we'd taken the Canberra school system mathematical department and turned every question into a sports question, do you think you would have walked out a smarter man?
I think I was already watching enough sports that it is, mate. So I probably didn't need to be watching anymore. But we should just touch on a very crucial try there scored by Andrew Ferguson with what is, I believe, known as a quick tap. Coco, what KPI does that move fall under?
That actually falls under a couple of KPIs that we track. So that's a positive carry. It's a carry period. He goes under the scoring for a try. Now, there's a bunch of different things there.
Is there a KPI for being devious or sneaky? Because he sort of kind of snuck in there as the referee was talking to the New York players. I thought it was quite clever.
Yeah. If I start tracking that, the boys would be in big, big trouble. There's a lot of devious and dark things going on in the field. So.
20 points to 19.
Yeah.
This is a huge match, 66 minutes down with a go-off game. Now, I just want to bring you a quick question back to your refereeing days. You did referee an international match. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Coco?
I did. It was 1996, and I was asked to referee at the Caribbean Championships in Barbados. So all the Caribbean countries got together, and I got to referee one of the semifinals between Bermuda and the Bahamas. It's not New Zealand versus England by any means, but hey, a cap is a cap, right?
better weather, though.
Yeah. How was it that day?
Trust me, I was not complaining about that refereeing assignment. It's funny, at the same time, the number one referee in Canada was a guy named George Gadjevich. And he actually refereed the same weekend. He refereed the All Blacks versus Italy in Rome. And when we got back from our respective trips, I ran into George, and he kind of went, I would have traded my game for yours in a second.
That's a beautiful place to referee some rugby. Who ended up winning that match?
I think Bermuda did, actually.
Shout out to Bermuda Rugby.
Yeah.
They were the team to beat.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about Bermuda Rugby, I must confess. So talk us through the atmosphere for the staff and the coaches at the ground here, Coco, because this is a very tense time because there's 13 minutes to go. You're down by 1. A loss here could see the Arrows eliminated from the top 4. Like, how nervous are you guys at this point?
We're pretty nervous at this point, but we're still pretty confident. The big issue we're going through here is the permutation and combinations of bonus points and things like that. Because coming into the game, there was 3 teams tied at 53 points. And there's 4 teams tied at 53 points, and only 3 of us were going to get through. So even if we had lost this game, bonus points were going to matter. So we were just trying to, we were going through the math thing. Okay, if we do this, we do that, we get a bonus point here, bonus point there, but we lose, where we're going to end up. So all of that was going in as we were kind of feeding information down into the field to kind of give them ideas of and instructions of what to do with some of the decisions that the guys were making on the field.
Because I remember that the other big game this round that had permutations for you is there was, I think NOLA was playing San Diego. So if NOLA won that game and this score had stayed the same, there was a chance that you could have been knocked out of the top 4.
There was a very slim. We were pretty confident, like with the point differential and all that, we would have had to have lost the game with no bonus points, and NOLA would have had to win their game. To get through. Like the only way we were going to get knocked out is if we didn't get any bonus points. And so at this point, we knew we had a bonus point in hand, so we were pretty confident. But the potential was there for a home semifinal as well if we had scored a bonus point win. So at this point, I think we were on to 3 tries. So one more try would have clinched the home semifinal for us. So that was also part of the computation going through. Because, as we were going down the game, we remember the coaches talking, saying, well, if we get a penalty, do we kick the penalty or do we kick to the corner and go for the try? There's so many different things going on at the same time. So, we were nervous, but, we're also working and trying to give as much feedback to the players as possible on the field.
And this looked like a pretty hot day, Elliot. You were there. It must have been pretty warm.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was my favourite game. This is my favourite game from last season for sure. Tom Fleming was DJing. I was standing right next to him, making sure everything was running all right. And honestly, the crowd was really into this one. You could tell the tension was there. You don't see a lot of games like this. You don't see 20 versus 19 all the time. You don't see a back and forth between the two teams. The heat was on, similar to today, obviously. This Rooney team doesn't give up. That's the thing. Like sometimes we saw some teams from the away teams kind of, we're not going to win this, but they didn't stop. So this is where it ends up in a beautiful ending. Very, very, very excited to see that coming up. Oh, I've got a quick question for you, Coco. Yep. As someone who's there with the team and the players and everything, how much does it mean to win at home? How much does it mean to be able to celebrate at home after a big win like this?
I think we were on the road for so long. We really, especially last year, because it was a brand new season, and to be on the road for the first 2 months, we knew there was buzz back home in Toronto about the Arrows, but we never got to experience it, right? Because we were training in domes. We never really got to see the fans except for some community events and things like that. But the minute we came home, and I remember the first home game, which was up at York University against NOLA, and the people just kept coming and coming and coming in. And it was just like, it was unbelievable. We had no idea what to expect. And there goes Mooner for a near try there. But it was great because the players started to feed off that energy that the fans brought. And, it all culminated in this game because I think this was the largest crowd we had for the whole season. And it was a gorgeous day. It was, and with all that was on the line in this game as well, just the energy was unbelievable. And, ask me that question at the dramatic point in the second half. So I got a great story about that. But I'll save it for the moment because it was something that we had never experienced as a coaching staff, and it was really fan related. And I'd love to tell you guys that when it happens.
So Stuart says really interesting insights from Coco. Great for us fans to have you as a guest. Thanks, guys. That's from Stuart. So, Coco, all this insight you're giving us means quite a lot. And I've got a question here from Bill, Mr. Bill Webb. What was your overall analytical assessment of where the Arrows were at the end of our 2020 season compared to our opponents?
Okay, so Scott talked about the KPIs that we track. And like I said, we watched and we databased all the other games in the MLR. And one of the things that I did or that we do on a weekly basis is we compare it. We compare all the teams and how they're doing with the KPIs, things like scrums, lineouts, penalties, possession, territory, a bunch of really big numbers that I don't want to bore people with. There's 16 of them.
That
And
is
not boring me,
huge,
by the
that
way.
is a huge job. That is a massive job to take all this information, right? You start the minute the game ends, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the week 5, when the season was shut down, we were ranked first in the MLR in 6 of the 16 KPIs. We were ranked second in 4 of the KPIs, third in 2, and then in the top 4 in 12 of the 16. And what I do, as a comparison, is I take the score. So the scores are from 1 to 13 based on the rankings. And then you add it all up, and that gives you the score of kind of a comparison. So at the end of it, at the 16 KPIs, our score was 45. And the lower the score, the better, basically. The second place team in the league in terms of the KPIs we were tracking was San Diego, who at the time was undefeated. They were the big talk of the league. They'd signed Ma'ananu. They'd lost in a heartbreaker in the cup final the year before, all that. And, there was talk. The talk was that it was going to be a Toronto-San Diego final. So we kept an eye on what was going on in San Diego, but we kept an eye on everybody. So San Diego had their score in second place. Their score was 89. And if you look at the KPIs that we were tracking, where we were really good, San Diego was actually not poor, but they were below average.
That's a 40-point difference. 40-point difference in your KPIs. Yeah,
they struggled. Their scrum was vulnerable. Their defense was vulnerable. They turned the ball over a lot more than people realized and things like that. So I actually thought when you compare the two teams that we matched up really, really well with San Diego.
Sounds like at this point, you're saying that the Arrows could have just won the MLR championship, but possibly the NBA and the NHL championship as well. They were doing that well. Am I reading that correctly?
Don't forget the Super Bowl, Elliot.
And the Super Bowl, sure, why not?
But statistically, we were the best performing team in the MLR after 5 weeks. And we were getting better. Like, things were getting better. They were getting sharper. And the shame of it is, like, none of that was able to be displayed at home, because I think by the time we came home for the home part of the schedule and into now and into the playoffs, we would have been just absolutely purring like a machine.
Now, I was at the Rugby Atlanta game where we really ruined their party. Like, there was a lot of people there. That's where I first met you. Like, we ruined their day. The fans are out, obviously. Yeah. Now, do you think we could maybe ask the commissioner, and I've got a line to Mr. Killebrew as well, maybe we don't need a trophy, but maybe some sort of T-shirt or bandana, like we were going to win, like it was ours? Like, what sort
interim
of...
champions.
Interim champions, asterisk champions, something like that?
Yeah, well, we won the numbers game, right?
We won the numbers game. There we go. There's your T-shirt right there.
Well, we're now headed into the last 5 minutes of this game, which are very dramatic. But before we get to one of the big moments, Coco, I just want to follow up on what we were talking about there, the statistics. So, for example, in the 2019 season, where we know that Seattle beat San Diego in the final, did the statistics for you, and you've done all the analysis, did they reflect who the eventual champions and finalists were, or sometimes can it just depend on what happens on the day in the playoffs?
Well, statistics give you an idea of what's going on, but there's all sorts of different factors you can't account for with statistics, right? You can't account for bad weather. You can't account for bad performance. You can't account for a bad referee performance. But what the statistics do is they guide you into what's happening, and it allows you to form strategies and make decisions based on the numbers. It's not the be-all and end-all. I like to think it is, because that's what my job is, but the coaches have to use their hunches, their knowledge, their experience, and combine it with the numbers that I produce for them. And when you combine that, that's when you get pretty good decisions.
So we might, Coco, just let this game breathe a little bit here, because this was a big last few minutes, and we'll let you talk us through from an analyst perspective some of the key things that are happening here.
So at this point, you know, we're down by 1 point. About 2 weeks before this game, the coaching staff basically thought that we should put in a drop goal pattern, because they thought it might be necessary at some point. And the fact that was leading up to this week, we had played so many close games that maybe a drop goal might be the decisive, decision to be made. So once the guys got into it, then they're probably about 5 or 6 phases into it. And right about here, you could see the way the guys are starting to line up. In the coaching booth, we kind of all looked at each other and went, they're setting up for the drop goal. Because what you're seeing is they're moving the ball into the middle of the field. And then guys are setting up as what we call blockers, so that the guys that are going to try and you can see Sammy kind of in one corner of the screen there, you know, setting himself up in position. And right about here, guys just start dropping to start acting as blockers, so that the Rooney guys can't get through to Sammy, who is going to be taking a drop goal. But at this point, we know exactly what he's going to do, and I think it's this phase here. And you can see the guys are all in the weights to make sure the Rooney guys can't get to Sammy, and he's in perfect position for this. Now I'll tell you, you could hear the crowd, they go crazy at that point. In the coach's booth, we actually felt the noise hit us about 3 or 4 seconds after Sammy hit the drop goal. The noise came across the stadium, and we actually felt the noise hit the booth.
The drop
That's
kick
how loud,
felt across the province. Wow.
That's how loud that response was. It was unbelievable. And at this point, the coaching staff, we're all high-fiving each other. And I actually think Winokur collapsed at this point in the coaching booth. The tension was just too much for him.
Karen said the best moment in franchise history. Insane. The crowd was ballistic. Yes, they were. That was a defining moment in this wonderful organisation's time and its dynasty.
Talk us through this sequence here, Coco, because now the team has the lead. There's a couple of minutes left. What are they trying to do here?
So all they're trying to do here is just run out the clock. It really doesn't matter if we make territory here. All that's important is that we keep possession, so that Rooney just can't get their hands on the ball. If you don't have the ball, you can't score. We're up. And basically, the one thing that we got to be careful here is getting our one guy isolated and either causing a turnover or having them, latch onto it so it causes a penalty. The other thing it does here is, because our guys are so closely bunched, not really looking to go forward. All they want to do is just take the ball from one phase to the next phase. We just want to hang on to it. Rooney needs to start taking some chances here as well. And that was one that they took there, and it resulted in a penalty. And the guys showed a ton of poise and experience, because I think there was still 3 minutes to go, which is an eternity in a rugby game. You can do a lot in 3 minutes. So the guys showed a ton of poise here, and as you can see, Rooney started to take some chances at this point. And once you get them that desperate, chances are it's going to work out well for us.
The crowd must have been pretty tense at this point too, after the elation of that drop goal, to know how close we were to potentially even securing second spot at this point.
Yeah, I think the win would have temporarily put us into second place. And I remember being at Williams Landing until about 11 o'clock that evening, because we were watching the NOLA San Diego game to see how that one turned out. But it was good to be in. And there's another example of Rooney taking chances to try and get the ball back. And the guys actually make a great decision here, where they, instead of going to the line out where it's a little bit more chancey to win the ball back, they'd pick a scrum, which is probably one of the strengths of the team. We knew we were going to win the ball, and we would be able to end the game off this scrum.
I think that's been one of the defining things for me rewatching all these Arrows games, Coco and Elliot, is that if you had to sum up the Arrows for one thing, it is the power of their scrum. Their scrum is so dominant. You clearly put so much work into that, Coco, as a team.
You know, it was basically the foundation of our success last year and even into this year. But I think it was more than just the scrum. It was the forward pack. Like in the preseason game we played this year in Vegas against Utah, I got the pleasure of standing in the in goal watching the game with somebody you'll be familiar with, Scott, Chris Latham, an ex-Wallaby, who was also the Utah coach. And he told me, he goes, the rep I heard on you guys is you guys are the toughest and hardest forward pack in the league.
That's quite the compliment.
Yeah.
What a game. Send us through right now. Flood your messages on Facebook chat. If you were there, how did it feel at this moment? This is the moment that every young rugby player in his backyard practices for. The kick, the field goal to win the match and put you into the next series. Amazing, amazing work there by our Toronto Arrows, and amazing work by our awesome host here today, Coco Louzzada. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you for coming down and joining us for this special moment.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, and you know, you guys did a great job doing these classics. It was a great thing to do considering what happened with the season. So, well done to you guys.
It was an absolute pleasure to relive these moments. I'd like to thank yourself. Thank you to Jamie for joining us today. Thank you to all the fans who have sent through their messages of support. We've read them all. Thank you for your questions and being a part of this special moment. This is a really special time. We hope everyone stays safe and well. And I'd like to very much thank my co-host, Scott Lidbury, for doing such a wonderful job below me there in his his wonderful box. He's got his Arrows hat on, and we're enjoying this moment. Scott, any last words from yourself? Any messages to the fans?
No, I think just thank you to all the fans who tuned in and relived these games with us. You know, a lot of you were there, a lot of you have seen these games, but I think the great thing about this is the opportunity to expose some new people to rugby and the Toronto Arrows during a period where there's not a lot of sports on. So, you know, these episodes are up on YouTube, they're up on Facebook. Share them with your friends, because if they haven't seen them, this is a great sport to really get behind, and make sure that you all support Rugby Ontario. You know, buy those memberships. It's going to a great cause to keep this sport going that hopefully produces our future Arrows. So, Elliot, thanks for this. It was a lot of fun. It's weird to think that we, you know, on May 23rd, which is today, we'd potentially be down, you know, at Lamport maybe tomorrow watching an Arrows game, but we can't be. But this was the next best thing. So thank you for pulling this together, and I know you've got some more highlights to finish off with to share with the fans.
We do, and thanks, Scott. Yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic. What a great way to spend our time on a Saturday, and we appreciate everybody. And thank you for all the messages coming through. I'm going to leave you right now with some highlights. You're going to see every try that the Toronto Arrows scored in this current 2020 season. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you. We've got some special stuff coming up soon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Keep supporting.
settle for the last remaining dancer? Can we take flight and do what's right? Damage the start of modern life. Don't wanna be the lone survivor. Don't tell me